Mr. Ainsworth.
Mr. Rogers.
How are you, bud?
All good. I'm trying to get to grips with this new shit that we have to deal with.
What, you mean Zoom or just Garmin?
Like Garmin, I got waxed. It's Zoom. So,
are you there, are you? Are you?
Yeah, did you unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I got that option. That's gone now.
Yeah, it's still there. I can mute you automatically from this side.
But no options on my side now. It's gone, yeah.
All right.
All
I'm
good.
just going to give it till 8 o'clock and then I'm going to kick it off.
Couple minutes. Okay.
Not at the moment. I'm on that Zoom meeting. Well, hopefully.
Yeah, it's going to happen, Colin. Hope you got the red wine handy.
Yeah, I think, what have we got, 40 minutes or something? And then...
Yeah, maybe we get through it a bit quicker. I don't know. I haven't really done a dry run on it, but it also depends on the questions. But if you've got a small enough group, it should go through quite quickly.
Oh, okay. Well, I see Andrew hasn't put his speaker on yet. Oh, here we go.
No, I've unmuted them.
Oh,
right. All right, I'm going to kick it off. Evening, gents. My name is John Ainsworth. I live in New Zealand. If there's any foreigners out there, there were a couple. One of the things that I found when working with Garmin Base Camp is that a lot of the shortcuts, people don't know how they actually work. And I got a lot of feedback that it's actually quite difficult. So I've come up with a couple of things that I'd just like to show some of the group that might make route planning a bit simpler. All right. So to start off, what we're going to do is just highlight the menus that I normally use. And if you right-click on the menu bar, obviously you can see what you need to have a look at. And these are the ones I use. I mess around with the detail level. I've got my activity profiles. I've got my map tools, the drawing tools, the edit features. I show the select tool up at the top, and I've also got my activity profile name, so I know what I'm doing. So this is the basic menu that you need. Obviously, on the display settings, you can run highest to lowest. With the highest, you're obviously going to see the most definition of the map itself. Okay. You need to be able to change that to see what you need to do. To change what you display, obviously, just click the drop down. Someone else is just joining. It's Ben. Get Ben to hook on. Welcome, Ben.
Evening all.
There we go. All right, we just started. I was just showing the menu structure of what I use, and using just right-clicking on the menu, you can see what you need to do. Okay. You can also change any of the menus up at the top. The other thing that a lot of people don't know how to do is to download the map to their computer itself. So if you got your Basecamp Garmin connected to your GPS, you're going to have two different types of maps. If I can just find where mine is online.
Hello, honey.
Just going to plug mine back in again. You need to be able to upload the map to your computer, and the way that you're going to be doing that is via your Garmin Express. When you have your Navi connected, you have map options, and then you have a map option to install the map to your computer. If you don't install the map to your computer, Basecamp is going to be very, very slow. So it's vital that you get that right, okay? It's pretty easy to download to your computer. There are various maps available. You can choose your maps that you want to use by clicking the maps. So you've got, I've got a free open source GPS loaded as well as the Garmin. And it's very easy to flip between the two while you're working. Next, that's quite important, is to create the activity profile. So if you look at your activity profiles here, that's just now loaded. You can create any one that you like. So if you want to edit an activity profile, these are the ones that you can actually edit. These are the ones that are embedded. I'm going to click on Off-Road Junkie one, edit activity profile. There it is over there. I can basically edit the selected profile. I can change the name. I can change the picture. But more importantly, I can also change what I want the route to see, all right? So in the activity profile, you can actually select items you want to see on the map. Most of the crap you don't need. So you can, just by unclicking all of them, you can drill down to what you actually need. So I'll just go back to my other profile and I'll show you what I do. So in my LFA one, no, I don't want to save the changes. If I go into edit this, okay, select. Now you can see that I've got various things selected. So when I'm doing my routine, I'm not going to be cluttered up with a whole lot of icons that I don't really want to see, all right? To create a profile, you can edit the activity profile. You can also add. So if I'm on this one, I can add. Then it asks, let's just call it a test profile. What do I want it based on? Now it only pulls up the generic ones that came loaded with Base Camp. So we're going to choose motorcycling. We can choose OK. And now we can change all those features. We can go in and we can change the routing. First of all, we can change what we see in the features. Okay. We can change the routing options. All right. So you can set whether you want the routes to be calculated faster time, shorter time, curvy. You can select which ones to ignore. I always untick the interstates, major highways. I leave the unpaved roads checked for normal tar-sealed roads. Obviously, carpool lanes, ferries, daytime closures I'm not interested in. I don't want to see narrow trails. Cable cars, I'm not going to go on a bike. You can adjust your customized speeds. Now, this is quite important when you do group rides or you're planning, let's say, a long routes and you want to do 1,500, 1,600 Ks and you've got specific time frames. The rides that I have done over the last couple of years, I've got the times pretty good. And then when I give the guys an itinerary, I say I'm going to be at that cafe at 10 o'clock, I'm normally there within 1 or 2 minutes of my time schedule that I've planned. It makes it quite useful for people that are joining us along the route. There's no delay. I know what time I'm going to get to lunch. I know what time I'm going to get home. So you can play around with your average speeds and see how it goes. I've got different average speeds loaded for different types of activity profiles. So if we go and have a look at, I've got LFA, which is a fast ride, which guys ride very, very quick, and there's very limited stops. I've got group rides, which is a bit slower, and obviously you've got gravel roads. You're going to be riding a lot slower average speed than if you're doing it on tar. John Jack is, when I ride by myself, generally I ride about 10 or 15 Ks quicker than I ride in any other group. So I can normally do a Coromandel loop or something in about 4.5 hours, where normally people will take 6. So it's quite good to have those different times loaded. And then when you do your map, you can actually get accurate waypoints, destination times. Let me just look at my notes and see where I am. So, right. So you know how to create a profile, you know how to adjust the profile, and you know how to adjust the average speeds. Got any questions on that so far? Or you all happy with what you've just seen? Anything new?
Just clearly that if you just remove that, what you're on the screen there.
Yep.
So in the feature avoidances, now back in there again, feature avoidances, when you untick them, so they're not displayed.
Hold on, I'll get there. My mouse just works. You're talking about the other one?
Yeah, next one. Close that. Routing
that one. Yep. At the bottom here. So,
yeah, no, the ones in the middle box, feature type avoidances.
Yes.
So if you tick them, then therefore.
Yeah, if I tick, so for instance, no toll roads, and I do a trip up north, it will avoid State Highway 1.
By ticking it.
By ticking it. Same as if you have unticked unpaved roads, it will try and deviate off any gravel. It won't put a route on gravel roads. Okay. So when you're planning, if you're planning only to do gravel roads and you tick box all those top ones, it'll only try to route you along an unpaved road.
Okay.
But be careful, if you check those ones, it gives you horrible route planning, because then you can't choose. I prefer to be able to choose the roads I want to go on, so I try and maximize my options that Garmin looks at. So in the routing here, this is how, if you choose faster time, it'll obviously pick interstates and very fast highways. Shorter distance, it will be obviously as the crow flies, irrespective of what type of road it is. If you've left that unticked, it will go whatever gravel road's available. Curvy roads, it tends to take on whatever the map deems to be the most motorcycle friendly. The one thing that you need to understand is that these settings here can override what's already on your GPS. So a lot of the Garmin GPSs, you can actually have this on board, but that only works when the GPS is trying to calculate its own route. So whatever you calculate here will transfer to your GPS 100%. I'll show you how you do that in a couple of minutes.
So you don't want to hit the recalculate button on your GPS when you're cruising along, because
Hell no.
It'll go back to whatever the setting is on the GPS.
Yeah, what I normally do and I recommend is when you have the auto off-route calculation set on your GPS, it creates mayhem. Because what it will do depends on how many waypoints you've set up. It will try to go to the next waypoint on the setting that's on the GPS, irrespective of what you've planned.
Yep.
And it will take you completely a different way. So what I do on my GPS, I switch off auto recalculate. And if I do deviate, I can still see my route on my GPS. It's shown as whatever the pink or blue line is. And I just need to navigate back to that line and then follow that line again, and I'll get to my destination, or I'll get to my route marker or a waypoint that I've set.
Yep.
Okay. But yeah, important. I was going to cover that later on. Otherwise, your GPS will give you some strange readings, and you might end up being deviated on a gravel road because it's suddenly gone to shortest distance, and you've got 12 bikers behind you riding super bikes, and they're a bit unhappy. Happened. Yeah, happens. All right. A couple of other things that people don't know about is you actually have the opportunity to have multiple libraries in Base Camp. When you just load Base Camp normally, I'll just try and find where the other one is loaded. Let's get it. It automatically goes to a user profile. If I can find it, app data, roaming. You have to really drill down to try and find it. Okay, so this is where Basecamp actually loads its default database. All right, you have to search long and hard to find that. Okay, I don't like it to be there because I find it difficult to be able to share my database with someone else, and maybe I want to back it up on my PC. I want to keep all my routes that I've done over the last 10 years. If I don't know where it is, how do I back it up? Well, it's quite simple. What you can actually do, and I've got this actually on OneDrive, so it's totally in the cloud. I've created databases in the cloud that actually have Garmin loaded on there. And I'll show you how you can do that quite easily. If you click on Edit and you click on the Options button, under General, you can actually choose what database you are on, okay? So if I want to add a database, I say database name, let's call it training one, if I can spell right. And now I go and find that folder that I have created in the cloud, and I go okay, and I go okay, and I go okay again. Basecamp will switch off, it will reload, and I'll have that database now active. Okay, so if you've got say you go to Australia and you want to create a database from Australia, you can create an Australia database. You can create a South Island database. You can create a North Island database. You can create an off-road database to keep things less cluttered and more structured. And it's very simple to flip between the two. So if I want to change back to my sealed roads database, I just click on sealed roads, click OK, Basecamp will restart, and the new database or selected database is now active. Has anyone used this feature before?
No.
No, you could do it, but that would tidy up my one a little bit.
Yeah, all those collections we've got.
You see this, I bet yours looks a bit more like this than anyone else's, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a very interesting little shortcut that I found that actually quite works well. Just remember to select the folders correctly, and you can put them anywhere you like. You can have them on a hard drive, you can have them on an external hard drive, you can have them in the cloud, but at least it gets away from your computer where it's drilled down into your user profile where no one knows where it is. So I've created a new database and I want to move some of my rides to the new database. How would I do that? Well, that's actually quite simple. So let's say I want to take my Auckland rides to my new database. I right click on there, I go File, Export, Export Auckland. And I'm just going to put this onto my desktop for want of a better place. Save. Okay. I'm going to go back to my other database, which is the training one. And I'm going to go OK. And it will restart itself. It's pretty quick. And then into my training, I'm going to go File, Import into Training, Auckland GPX, open it up, and I'll have my Auckland data straight away as loaded, which wasn't there before. So I've just put it as in, I would have created a folder or a list and put it into the list, but now it's just gone in as everything that I want. So you can move your information from one database to another or copy information from one database to another just by exporting it and importing it. Very simple. That's also quite a useful feature to have. I'm going to go back to my, my other database. One of the biggest issues that you have, if you do not have structure in how you've done your routes, it ends up very, very messy. So you need to be able to create list folders and lists. So just a quick overview, you can see what I've done. So I've got local day rides, I've got Auckland, Bay of Plenty, Coromandel, then I've got Northland, then I've got overnight rides. So I have some form of a structure as to what I'm doing here. And it allows me to easily find my routes. And you can see that having a list folder now limits the amount of detail that's on the map. I'm not seeing 10,000 roads that I've been on. I'm only seeing the roads that are pertinent to that folder. And the way we're going to do this is you just right-click on your top library folder, create new list folder, and within that, we're going to create a new list. So we can differentiate the information that we're going to see by putting it into different folders. Are you guys all using the menu structure like this? Was this new?
No, that's good. That's right. Yeah.
The other thing that I found very important early on working with Basecamp is I found that sort of favorite locations were duplicated multiple times across all my routes. And I don't know if you guys have got the same experience. And then your maps get cluttered and you can't rename something because it wants to call the BP in Thames suddenly needs to be BP Thames.1 or something because it's named 4 different names. So what I decided to do is I've created a folder that's called My Favorites or All Favorites. And in this favorites, I have my locations. I only put my locations in this folder. I don't put them anywhere else. So it means that the places that are my go-to garages or my go-to stops are listed in here. And you can see there's no clutter, there's no roads or anything else there. It's just my favorites, nicely laid out with my petrol stations, you know, with the food stops, bars, spots where it's got a good view that I want to see, want to take pictures, accommodation. And these are all places that I've actually physically verified, okay? Now, you don't always need to have locations like this. I'm just going to go back to the test training list, because even though there's no locations on here, when you drill into it, you can still see petrol stations, you can still see food shops. There's nothing stopping you selecting those points already in the map. So a simple way to do it is, I'm just going to create a route quickly. So we're going to go do create a route, and I'm going to create a route, simple one, from there to there. Very easy. So there we've got our 2 points. I've created a route, and it's actually picked up the names of the petrol station and the lodge all at once, okay? You can use these, it's no problem. But if I use them in another route, it'll want to rename them, okay? Something that I didn't like. So if we go back to my favorite locations and we look at some of these other ones that I've got here, just be drilled out here. So I've taken the Z station is actually physically there in Clevedon, but I've renamed it and put it in the right place, and I've called it that. It makes it a bit easier for me to recognize the garages that I know that have got 95 or 98 fuel. They're open 24/7. I know which pubs I like to go to. I know which stops I need. You know, so they're all set up in that group, which makes it easier to maintain. And like I said before, you only have to name them once. You need to be very careful with naming them once. You'll find that they will appear in other rides as well. You can delete or you can remove from a list. If you delete this item, which happens to be in locations, all right, it'll take it out of every single ride loop that you've ever created. But you can remove it from the list, and it will only remove it from this list. So if I click remove, it's gone from this list, but it still exists in my locations. If I go up to my locations, it's still there. All right. The nice thing about that is, if I have any location, I can drag that location into any list that I want to use it in, if I want to. It's not duplicating it, it's just creating a mirror copy of it. And that will be available in that list as well.
How did you get all those favorite locations into that collection? Did you just drag them in there?
Okay. So what I'll do is, I'm in my list. So if I just click on something, so I'm just going to go down here.
Random, yeah.
And I'm going to click on a new waypoint. I click on that, all right? I can double click on that. So it's Baker Express. I can say, all right, that's, what's that, the hub or whatever it is. I'm not quite sure what it is, but anyway. Okay. And that will now be here in my list.
Well, because you've renamed it, it puts it into your list.
I've created a waypoint, and it's now while I was in my list, and it's created the icon and the name in my list. And rather than be the old one that was there, it's now bigger and bolder. So you can easily see that it's something that I've created. Whereas the other one.
So I can ask, so by renaming it, allows you to then drag it into your favorite location.
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah.
Okay. It would have stayed the same name. Let me just try that again. So if we go to Fred Taylor Park and I just click on it, it's called Fred Taylor Park, and it's automatically here.
Oh, okay.
So it renames it, but sometimes you don't know where those things are. So when you're looking at your favorite location list, you might want to get a hint as to what is it. Is it a BP? But what BP is it? All right.
So literally just clicking on it enters it into your locations folder.
Yes.
Right.
If you've got your waypoint tool selected, yeah.
Yeah, you just need to have that waypoint tool selected, and then I can click on it, and any one of these things automatically goes in there.
Wow.
So it makes storing locations very easy. The other thing that you can do is we can actually go down to our internal storage on the navigator. And on my internal storage, just want to see if I've got something here. So you're driving along and all of a sudden you come to a really nice spot that you want to save. Most GPSs give you an option of saving a location. I can actually take this from my Garmin, because that's on my Garmin, and drag it up into my locations. And I could say, so that'll be there somewhere as 001 or whatever it is. If I can find it, there it is. And I can say, oh yeah, okay, what was that? That was
Burger Cafe. Okay.
well, just call it whatever you want. And we can then set it as symbol, and there we have it. So what I often do is you're driving along, it's normally for those kind of waypoints where you're driving along a lake and you find a nice place to stop and it's going to be a good group. And when you're planning your route the next time, you wonder, now where was that place again? You can store them from your GPS back into your favorite location. So when you're driving along, so you can see I've got these like little camera spots here. And those little camera spots for me along the lakes are basically where I know that it's a good place for bikers to stop and stretch their legs and, you know, to have a bit of a yarn.
So how did you track that from your GPS then when you were actually on the ride?
Well, I physically stopped. I go to the
so it's from memory, right?
Yeah, no. In your GPS, you can go into your settings and save your location. Most GPSs on the Garmin's, you can do it.
Right.
So you can say where you go. I think it's where am I now, and then it says save. How would you like to save it? And you could put a name to it, and
Yeah.
you can have it. I just want to see if I had one here on my navigator. Just not sure where it is now. Would it just been a location? It normally saves it with just an arbitrary flag on it.
Yep. Can you edit it on the Garmin when you save it?
I can put a name to it, yes.
Yeah.
You can't, there it is. This is one I did when I was actually at work. And I created this as a favorite location. So I gave it a name and it picked it up. That must be yours, Alvin.
It is, yeah.
So that I find quite useful, and that's quite good. So you can get them into the locations as well. Okay, so I'm just catching up on my notes. So, okay, we know how to add the locations to the list. So you can add them directly from the map, or you can add them directly from your GPS. One of the things that you need to be a little bit careful of, so if I'm, let's say I've got a boys run here, so I'm in this list folder. If I go and add a location, let's just drill in and say, right, we're going to add this one here. There's a camping site that I'm interested in. This Kafia Beachside will only be in this list. It will not be in my favorites, okay? So if you want to catch it up into your favorites and you go, oh shit, I should have done it in my favorites. Yeah, crap. Just drag it up. Just drag it up into your favorites and click it into locations and it'll copy it there. All right. But what I found is the best tool to do is whenever I want to add locations or special points of interest, I always use this list so that I don't ever have to add it anywhere else. So even when I'm creating a route, I normally use this list.
So hang on, so just for clarity, so you actually make the route from that list?
Yeah, I'll show you now. I'm going to do that now. I'm just going to see if I've missed anything. All right. So when I'm going to create a route, I don't create a list first and then start in there, because if I've got a list, my list is blank. I don't have any information in here. All right. And in my locations, I don't have any maps either. But I can say, right, let's create a simple route. So I'm going to say, right, I'm going to do a simple route, and I'm going to go from my home. So it's automatically clicked it up here. And I want to go down to Raglan, and I want to go to the Raglan pub. And I want to end up at this waypoint over, let's pick another waypoint. I'm going to end up at Galmoronsville for fuel, and then I want to end up back home again. So this is how I would create my route. Just like that. And then this is in locations. So I've got my home to home, so I can actually click on that list. All right, there's my basic route. All I've got in that route, if I double click on it, is my 3 waypoints that I've just selected. And those are all the ones that I already have, okay? A lot of people say you should add your waypoints in here. So by means of going plus and then pulling up from the list and saying, I want this one and I want to insert the waypoint, and then I have to drag it around and do all sorts of crap. That's bullshit. You don't need to do that. And all the videos that I've seen, this is how they tell you how to do it. The easiest way to do it, I've just deleted that waypoint. So you can delete the waypoint in the actual properties of the route. I'm just going to recalculate it out again. Or by selecting the map tool, I can say, right, from my home to Raglan, I want to stop at Autobahn to pick up my mates. So I'm going to stop at Autobahn. And I click it. It's automatically added it. Then I want to stop in, let's say, Nile Warrior for, or we're going to regroup here. Then we're going to stop for petrol. So I'm just building my route as we go along. Okay, so I'm happy with that. If you use the tool, this is one of the simple things. You just click on the route anywhere and you'll see the black line and it'll tell you you can actually deviate. So I go, okay, I actually want to go from this route. I want to actually go to Parongia instead. So we go to Parongia. Then it goes to the next waypoint that I've selected and say, okay, let's go via Cambridge. Okay, I haven't had to add anything using the plus button, and this is a hell of a lot faster. Okay, so those are adding waypoints that you know you're going to go to. If you want to change your route, you can do exactly the same thing and it will create fictitious waypoints. So I want to go the coast road. So I will just click, I want to go the coast road, pick the road, and it'll move the route for you. Okay. So I very quickly created a route with using the waypoints that I've got existing. Once I'm happy with all the stops that I've got, okay, we can just close that screen down. So in my training points, I've got my home to home. We can just rename that as well. Call it a training loop. Close that down. And I've got a training folder down there. Drag it into my training list. And because I'm happy that it's finished, so it's now sitting in there, okay? But if I go up here, it's still sitting in my locations. If I delete it from my locations here, it will delete it from the training loop as well, because it's a mirror copy. They are not separate routes. So you have to remove from locations. Generally, I'll leave it there until I'm happy with my route. So I'm going to go down. I'm just going to show you another tip. When you're transferring your route from your map to your Garmin, depending on whether the map is the same as your Garmin or maybe it's a different Garmin or you want to send it to a mate, it's important that you put enough route markers in so that the map dictates where it needs to go. If you need to click on the route and have the selection tool. Oh, that dropped down. You can't have really big distances. So basically, every time I deviate from the main road, I normally put a click. So I'm going to turn there. I'm going to turn there. I'm going to stay on this road. We're going to go off the freeway over here. Down Mill Road. You can say, oh, actually, that's a bit crap. Maybe we want to go. We want to go down here. And I put as many waypoints as I want. So basically, rule of thumb is if there is another route, you always put a marker in. You just right click and you can jump into the next section. So you can see there's a big jump between there. So I could, depending on the GPS that I used, I could maybe get mapped this way around, maybe get mapped this way around. So what we do is we put a couple of spots in there to make sure that we stay on the same road. We don't want to deviate from the road. We're going to go back this way again. And so on and so on and so on. You can carry on and put as many of those markers as you like. And if I double click on the properties of my routes, you can see that they come up as, sometimes they come up as won't alert. So those are the ones I don't want to see. So hold the shift key down, select them all, right click, don't alert shaping point. Right click, don't alert shaping point. Those are shaping points, don't alert shaping point. So when your route is calculated to your GPS, it will see these ones that you've got set as normal that aren't the won't alerts. So your shortest point from point 8, from Autobahn to this regroup would be your GPS settings unless you had these waypoints in between. So your GPS will follow the road because of these additional points that you've put in there, provided you've got your auto route calculation off. Okay? So that's very easy to do it that way. So that's basically how I set my routes up, and I find it very quick and easy. The other thing that's actually quite good to do is, I don't know if you guys have used this, but you can do timing. So if you right click or double click on any of your waypoints, you can, once again, you can change the name. You can say, I want to leave this one tomorrow, set the date, at 9 o'clock in the morning, for instance. Yeah, Alwyn, you can laugh. It's not going to happen, is it? So it's automatically calculated when I need to leave my house, and I'm leaving this at 9 o'clock. I'm going to have a 5-minute layover. So double click here, departure, layover time, 5 minutes. Petrol's going to take 3 minutes. And you can build the stops as you go along. We're going to have an hour for a beer. 5 stages, we're going to have an hour for another beer.
And will they pop up as prompts, will they, when you're on your GPS?
Yes.
For a 1 hour prompt? Okay.
The GPS itself will ignore the time that you've set for it to calculate. It automatically assumes that you're still riding, that you're not stopping. But this is for planning.
Planning.
So it's what I use for planning. So if I've got this whole route planned up, I can see I'm going to be doing 334 kilometers. And if I leave home at 9 o'clock in the morning and I have my various stops in place, just let me recalculate that. I'm going to arrive home at 4:30 in the afternoon. And I can tell my mates, we're regrouping there at 9:55, see you at the Raglan Harbour Hotel at 11 o'clock. And you can stick on these, if you've set your times in your tracking here, so you set your route profiles, you're going to get the times. So the average speeds workout is being calculated now. So I'm on a fast speed. So I'm on, you can actually change this as it is. If you change the profile, you can get different times. So I'm on LFA, so we can see I'm going to be arriving home 4:25. If I chose, for instance, motorcycling group rides, and it's going to recalculate it, I'm going to be home at 5:06. So that's based on your times that you've set up in that profile. So that's quite useful. One of the things that once you've created your route is obviously to go back to your locations, find that, and remove it from locations. So now when I go back to my location, it says no map. But that map now exists in that training list. It's still there. But wait, there's more. I made a complete cock up on this map. I want to change it. There's absolutely nothing stopping you dragging it back into your locations. And when it loads there, go back to it and pick up any of the other waypoints you might want to do. So you go, oh yeah, okay, I don't like that route, I want to change it. Perhaps we want to come down from there, we want to go down to Ochirahonga, for instance. You can do that. Very simple. There's no problem about moving that route. And once you've done it there, in your locations, I can just go remove from locations. And if I go back down to my list folder, you'll see now that Ochirahonga is now included in there. So it's automatically mirrored it for me. So any editing, I tend to drag my routes back up into my locations folder, and I work on them there, and I bring them back down again. Was that new?
Yep.
Clever. Hey?
Kind of clever.
Making routes this way is really quick. Okay. The other thing is now all about having some route planning and stuff like that. We have a route that's relatively messy, and a lot of people not going to be able to read it that easily. You can actually duplicate a route by right-clicking on it and go duplicate. And you just click no, because I don't want to duplicate all the waypoints. So it's automatically renamed the routes, and now I actually have 2 routes there that are exactly the same. But by right-clicking on this one, I can remove my shaping points. Now when I look at it, I've only got the places where I'm stopping. And what I would normally do is I just drag the columns over, grab my, my snip tool, snip that out, paste it onto a Word document, and now I've got my route notes as to where I need to go.
Ooh. Okay.
So I know.
Paying attention here, Andrew.
It's a bit better than trying to type all this shit out, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
So if you're doing particularly long runs, like you're going to do the iron butts, 800s, 1200s, 1500s, whatever it is, if you don't have this, you struggle to maintain where you're going to go. You don't know whether you're falling behind or whether you're ahead of the game. So when I do longer runs, 500, 600, 700, 800 Ks in a day, I like to know where I'm going to be, whether I need to speed up a little bit or whether I can actually take it easy and stop for another half an hour or whatever I need to do. Using the correct speeds is about right. The speed.
So sorry, John, just a quick one. So you've set that route. If
Yes.
you go off the route, it will bring you back to the route on your Garmin.
If you set your Garmin to not auto recalculate, the route stays on your GPS and it will tell you you're off route. You can use your zoom function to get out and see where the route is and take the road that goes back to the route.
So it won't direct you to it, but you can see where it should be.
Yeah. The one thing you must remember is your Garmin will try to get you back to these route points, not the shaping point.
Yeah,
so the shaping points are there.
That's why I've got no hair.
Yes. I found that out the hard way by not getting lost, but had a really nice route plan, and suddenly it all went tits up because I only had 3 or 4 route marks, but I had heaps of shaping points. And then when we took the long road, I said, oh, just recalculate, go back to the routes. And it missed out the best part of the ride, which was some really good roads. And we ended up on some gravel. So, yeah, you need to... Yep.
Sorry, how good is it with those speeds? Like if you select, say, 50K for gravel, it knows when you hit the gravel, and that's when it starts applying that?
Yes.
Okay.
So let's just go back to the activity profiles and just have a look at the LFA one, which we're on. So
I've always wondered what's an interstate in New Zealand versus a major highway.
It's hard to actually define. You have to play around with these numbers to get them to work for you. So I know my settings like this generally mean that when I ride LFA, which is a faster group, I'm normally within 5 minutes of my destinations. But because I've got my GPS and I've got my route map on my tank bag, I can see and I know when I'm hitting those route markers. And as lead rider, I know whether I need to give it a bit more beans or I can button off. So I can judge when I'm going to get to my next destination, because it will tell you on your GPS where's your next waypoint. You're going to be there in 10 past 10, and your route map says you're going to be there at 20 past 10. You've got 10 minutes in the bag. If you start falling behind, okay, we need to speed up a little bit, or I have to forego that little gathering where we're all going to stop and chat and whatever. Or if we're stopping for lunch for an hour, actually we can't stop for an hour. We've only got 50 minutes. Otherwise, we're not going to get home on time. So having that information is quite right. Depending on your riding style is how you would set that up. I think
I'm usually pretty conservative when I do mine for like the TT 2000.
Yep.
I just say I'm going to average 80 because I know I beat that, but it's a mental thing as well.
The funny
say 50 for gravel.
Well, if you underestimate, then you're never going to be late.
Yeah,
that's the main thing.
And that's my mental thing going.
I mean, what you could do is you could set every single one of these at 85.
Yep.
Okay, but then what's going to happen is you might have a very squiggly section that's 40, 50 Ks. In which case you might only be doing 50 Ks an hour. In which case you're going to be late on that schedule, but you're going to be fast on the other schedule.
Yeah.
You need to play around and find out what works best for you. You probably find that the gravel roads are going to work on the collector road principle or other highway.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't have a gravel road option here.
Oh, okay. Yep. I thought it did. I can't remember. Yeah.
No, on the customer speeds. Well, on Base Camp, this is all you have.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
So collector road. Okay, we'll use that one.
Well, you can experiment and see what it does for you. But yeah, this is a useful tool in planning when you do the big rides.
Yep.
Okay, so we covered how we can easily print that route. So that was pretty straightforward. That I use a lot. Now, obviously, to export the routes, I'm just going to delete these ones. You delete, okay, because it's a copy. We just delete it. It doesn't matter. Just to send it to your GPS, obviously, you just highlight it. Normally, highlight it, device, send to device, send selection to device, not send training to device. That's the one I want. Off it goes. It'll now appear on my GPS. There it is. It's done. So if I click on my GPS into the storage,
you can just drag it up there, can't you, as well?
You probably could. It's not something that I normally do. I normally use the proper tool that's there. So, so yes, it probably will do that. I always check to see that it's actually there.
Yes.
So that one's actually gone in. Yep. No problem. Okay. Now, if you want to share this GPS route with someone else, it's also pretty straightforward. You use exactly the same principle. You click on it, file, export selection. I'm just going to put it on my desktop again, save. And then you can put it anywhere you like. So a lot of the rides that I do for my group, I post them in OneDrive and I post the link on Facebook so they can have a look. And this is what it is. So we've got a couple of the LFA rides. Let's just have a look at the Kerry ride. So we've got the 2 GPX routes loaded. I had a rain route and I had a dry route. And the Word document is set up for them so everyone can download and see what it is like. So we've got Saturdays and Sundays timing as to where everyone's going to be, what time it's going to happen. If anyone ever gets lost or misses out of the group, they know exactly where we're going to be ending up. They know the next position. If they don't have a GPS, well, that's not my problem. A lot of the apps, if you've got a Reva app or My Route app, these routes or apps on your phone will follow the GPX files that you have. They might not give you turn by turn, but they do follow the route. So long as you stick on the blue line, you'll end up getting where you need to be. And if the people don't have if they don't have that type of thing, they got Google Maps, they can always just type in this as a destination, and the Google Maps will get them to where they need to go to. So it just avoids some of the confusion in bigger rides where people may or may not get lost. All right. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what I found to be the most useful tips. There's obviously a shitload more information. If you're familiar with Base Camp, the stuff in the background, like I said on the post, there's lots of videos on how to do this stuff. But for me, this was the game changer that made Base Camp easier to use. To start with, I always thought, oh, this is a bit clunky, it's a bit crap, because I used to have 10,000 waypoints. I struggled to get the maps. It took a long time. But to be honest, just by creating one folder that says locations and using the points that you want to get to, and you don't even have to use those points. We could also say, right, let's just say from home again, I don't need to use the ones I've created. We can actually use something different. So even if I don't have it, maybe we want to go to Deck Chair Cafe, which is somewhere over here, so we can look for it. Where is this cafe? It's on Marine Parade somewhere. It's down here. I want to go to the Ambrosia here in Tauranga. That's not on my list, okay? But I can get there. Creates the route that I want, no problem. So I have the route all set up, ready to go. So it makes it a bit easier. These ones, you can actually move the routes around. You can delete them from here. If you actually want to have this, for instance, Cafe Swiss in your locations, then like I said, you need to click on the new waypoints tool. If you're in the locations, new waypoint tool, and it goes on. But you'll see, it's named it twice now because there's already a cafe called that in my list. So it's called it 1. That's why if you have to create multiple routes, and I selected the cafe again, it will then call it a 2, and I'd end up with these multiple locations all over the place. So using it in here and naming it before you select it is a bit easy. But what I could do is if I go back to that route, so I've got the one that's there, I can delete that. And then what we can do is we can add the location Cafe Suisse, which is in there somewhere. Where is it? Let's just see what we can do. Let's just put in anything. I can see what it's going to be. Nothing stopping you deleting any of those waypoints along the way when you're doing your calculation. So there it's actually now physically dragged the waypoint that I've created into it. I mean, this one we can now rename.
Yeah.
Do anything you like with it. If we go back into the, we can change the symbol, put something that's meaningful to it, change the name. What's also useful, sometimes you've got notes in the background. So we might want to, if it doesn't come up with a telephone number or something in the background, sometimes it does. In the notes, you can actually put a website or you can put a telephone number. So if you're riding along with a group and you want to make sure that they've got table for 15 to 20 people, I'll make a note of the number in the system, and then I don't have to go look it up again on Google. A lot of the locations that I've created in my favorites folder are locations that are physically actually interrogated. So you might be looking at a little fuel station, let's call it, down here in Waitomo, Awakino. It looks like it doesn't even appear on Garmin Base Camp GPS, but I know from Google Maps that it exists. So I've actually put it there. Some of the petrol stations that appear in this one, before I commit to making a waypoint out of it, I make sure that it actually exists, that it's big enough, it's got enough fuel, that I know I can stop there with a group of people and it's good enough to go. If you're doing the iron butts, you need to know, is it 24/7? Is it going to be open when I get there at 9 o'clock at night for fuel? Or am I going to have to sleep there because I can't travel to my next stop? So a lot of the stops are interrogated on Google. Google Earth, Google Maps works quite well. So, anyway, that's my little lot. I think we're pretty much almost done.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was good. Thank you.
Yeah. Go and tidy up my collections.
Well, you know how to make new databases.
I'm going to have to start again.
Got a whole lot
Thanks
of
for
maps.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a whole lot. My map looks like a big bowl of purple spaghetti.
Yep.
The best way to do it is create a new database, okay, and then move the stuff that you want into the formats that you want, so you can neaten the whole thing up quite easily. Because if you just remember that when you drag, let's just create I'm just going to create a new list folder here. Well, let's just create a new list in here. There's nothing in this list, okay? But when I drag a route into that list, it automatically takes in all the waypoints as well, okay? So you're not going to lose your waypoints. The other thing that you can do is when you look at the sealed roads, when you click on your main database, you get everything that's on your database. You get every single waypoint you've ever created. You get every single route you've ever created. What you could do is you could export that sealed roads. I can file export the whole thing, my whole database, to another database. And then I can then just go and delete in here all the routes. I'm not going to do it now because that's going to create a bit of havoc on my database. By selecting them all, I can delete them all. So there's no routes. All I've got is my waypoints, my favorite locations that I've set up. And you can start from scratch with your new routes. And then what you would do is in that database, you would then drag all those favorite locations into one folder that you would use as a virgin canvas for creating your routes like I do.
Shit.
Just going to delete that.
To be fair, for me, the epiphany was the locations folder, but also the drawing tool. I wasn't using that.
A lot of people don't, and then you struggle. When you use the drawing tool and you click it on the road, it actually self-centers itself on the road. If you try and drag the locations around, you sometimes miss the road, and then you'll be driving along and your GPS will give you this thing, you need to turn left in 200 meters. But actually you're going straight, and it gets a bit confusing. So on the routes, it's just want to click on this so we can just have a look. There's a lot of waypoints here, but it's important that those little dots are actually in the right place. Because
I've been using the plus, so I've been doing it the manual way.
That's a pain in the arse, isn't it?
Which was a pain in the arse, but trust me, it was a lot better than importing from Google.
Yes, but if you've got the waypoints already and you click on the waypoint, the selection grab is actually quite big. So, so it picks it up quite nicely. But what I'm saying is if I'm, for instance, in this route here and I'm using my pen tool and I want to select a road, if I just click here, it kind of self-centers itself. You see it's grabbed the corner, even though I didn't actually do that. So, you know, it self-centers in the middle of the road. I have to be quite far off the road for it to actually miss that. So it's always dead center when I'm using the pen. If I don't use the pen, then it's a problem. I mean, you can add additional waypoints to this. So the old way used to go waypoints, click it on there, and then go to the plus sign and add all those things in. What a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that.
Welcome to my world. Yeah.
Don't do it. Just set the waypoints that you want to stop. The rest are all just guiding points. That's all you need to do. You can move them around. So you've got the move points. So obviously, if we're not 100%, say we had the thing down there, we could actually move it back. You still got the option to move those points. There's no big deal with it. You can erase them as well. You can do it that way. I don't like to do it that way because it takes time to recalc. I prefer to go into this tool here, and then I'll follow where I'm going. And if I don't want that point, I'll just hit the delete key and it's gone. Recalculate. So it's a lot easier to do it that way. So just follow. You can see it's highlighting as you go down. So you know exactly where it is.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, I haven't used that. Okay.
Yeah.
John, what does that optimize button do there?
It's supposed to.
It killed me a couple of times.
Yeah, if you click on it, it kind of takes away all the settings you've done to your route, and it tries to recalculate it for you in a completely wrong way.
Yeah, I know.
So
yeah, let's not do that.
So and the other
label.
The other thing is Control Z is your friend. Okay, you see it. I went Control Z, and it went back to where it was. So if you made a mistake, Control Z gets you back.
Oh, okay.
So you know, I can delete a whole lot of things in here, and if I go Control Z, you can see that actually coming back.
Oh my God!
It remembers where you were.
It's helpful.
Bloody helpful. Yeah. So in a nutshell, don't use that.
Almost driven me to drink a couple of times.
This print function is also crap because
yes,
it just gives you a whole lot of gumph that you got nothing. I mean, you got 10,000 waypoints or turn here, turn there. That I just can't use.
Yeah. That's a snipping tool you use, a great idea.
Yeah, that works well for
I used that last for this year's TT2000 and it worked really well.
Now this thing's actually gone and frozen on me. Why won't it do anything?
Oh, that's good. Mine crashes when I do things. Yeah, good.
No, it was just trying to print the thing and it was hidden behind all the screens. Yeah. Okay. Any last questions or things that I've opened your eyes to that you want to know a bit more about?
Yeah, when's the next one?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's fine. Don't leave us.
When's the next ride, you mean?
Oh, I know when that is. It's this weekend.
I spent 4 bloody weeks just planning shit. So hold on. I've got one for the brave here. Where is it?
It's the 3000K one.
You've seen it.
I have. Looks awesome.
Well, that's on. It's happening. It's all set. Really.
Yeah, 700 Ks a day one. Oh, yeah. That's ugly.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Well, we've got a couple of people that don't ride like me.
John, that's an easy route. We did that in the TT2000 almost exactly without going to work.
Yep.
It only took us 40 hours, so you're fine.
Yeah, well, that's about right. Yeah.
So, Johnny, you're full?
No. Well, it's an open ride. If you want to come and ride, I'm full in terms of accommodation. I think the spots are just about taken. But if you put your name on the event, you're welcome to ride along with. Yeah, the accommodation spots where we're staying is all there. If you click on the link for OneNote, all the information is in OneNote.
Nice. That'd be a good warm up for the North Island 800.
Yeah. I mean, I'm quite happy to do 800, 900, even 1,000 Ks a day, but not everyone can do that. And if you're trying to do it 4 days or 3 days in a row, got to be mindful of the group's fatigue if there's a couple of people that cannot do that. I've got a reputation of riders falling off of my rides. I don't know why. Not everyone returns home on the same bike, shall we say. So,
what date were you doing that, John?
This one here. That's the 25th of September.
September 25th,
25th, 26th, 27th, 28th. So out early. Back on Monday.
It's only a week before the North Island 800.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. 800 is for babies, man.
Well, it's only a morning ride.
Don't joke. I've got a couple of mates who are going to do the 800 and then the 1600 on the same weekend.
Oh, okay.
That's good.
And
That's good.
What's useful? Some of the tools are showing. Like, so I've done the Burt Munro, which is coming up next year. So I use the tool quite nicely to do all that planning, and it makes things very easy. So you know exactly when you're going to be getting there. If we look at the, you can factor in the ferry crossings, all the stuff that you're doing, what time you're going to be arriving. So you know which is going to be a long day, which is going to be an easy day. You know when you need to gas up and.
No, it's excellent. You've done well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Need another couple of briefings, please.
Yeah, that was awesome, John.
Just if you've got any questions, just post some comments on or just message me, and we can do this again quite easily. I mean, Zoom is a relatively easy tool to use, and I'm quite surprised. It said you only get 40 minutes, but we've been going for an hour now.
Yes, we have.
Gave you an auto update, an auto extend.
No, it's not. You have to normally restart it. So maybe it likes me. I didn't give them my credit card details, so.
No, it came up halfway through saying you had an auto extend.
Oh, okay.
And we just clicked OK.
Maybe it has got my credit card details.
But hey, John, if you ever want to do a long one, I've got a business login, so you can always use mine.
Oh, okay. Cool. Thanks. Appreciate it. This is the first time I've actually used this. It's pretty useful, actually. Yeah.
It's a good tool.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to share your screen and show people stuff, I mean, during lockdown and you can't get around, it's a bit of a no-brainer, really. But yeah. All right, boys. Good that you could join. I'll see you out on the road. I'm riding Sunday, that's for sure. And next weekend I've got a Turangi weekend away. So. Alrighty.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Thanks, mate.